In 1951, a 24-year-old platoon leader was tasked with intercepting over 1,000 men from the U.S. Marine Corps' 1st Division. Ultimately, they not only completed their mission but also exceeded their objectives. The fierce battle lasted a full 48 hours, and with only 4 casualties, our troops annihilated over 300 enemy troops, creating a legendary moment. So, how did this heavy rain aid the Chinese People's Volunteer Army? And how did this platoon leader achieve this legendary interception? In June 1951, the main force of our army moved north as planned. However, unexpectedly, during the 5th counterattack, the U.S. military took advantage of our repositioning and rapidly assembled forces, pressing directly against our forces, attempting to cut off our retreat and encircle and annihilate them. To cover the main force's retreat and hinder the U.S. pursuit, our army decided to retain some troops to conduct a multi-pronged interception. The interception we will discuss today was the Jiufeng Intercepting Battle, commanded by Shen Shuden and involving the entire platoon of 34 soldiers. In this battle, our army, with a small force of just over 30 men and rudimentary weapons like rifles, grenades, and bayonets, defeated the vaunted 1st Marine Division of the U.S. Army. Facing intense bombardment from U.S. aircraft and artillery, our troops held their ground and even exceeded their objectives. During this blocking battle, Shen Shuden, then platoon leader of the 3rd Platoon, 8th Company, 3rd Battalion, 179th Regiment, 60th Division, 20th Army, was given an exceptionally difficult mission that seized the strategically important Jiufeng Peak and hold it for a day and a night. But faced with such a massive disparity in numbers and equipment, how could they seize the initiative? In 1951, Shen Shuden led the volunteer soldiers in this daunting mission entrusted to them by their superiors. Facing a formidable enemy force guarded by heavy weapons, how could they capture Jiufeng Peak with only rifles and grenades? One early morning, a heavy rainstorm struck Shen Shuden. Realizing it was the perfect opportunity for a strategic deployment, aided by the downpour, Shen Shuden successfully executed the first step of his strategic deployment. As Shen Shuden was plotting how to seize the initiative, a sudden downpour began. Faced with the inclement weather, the soldiers wore worried expressions, apprehensive about the impending battle. Only Shen Shuden slapped his thigh, beaming with joy as he exclaimed, "God is helping me." The torrential downpour made the already rugged mountain path even more difficult to navigate, leaving the entire position mired in mud. But Shen Shuden anticipated that the enemy would be reluctant to show their faces amidst the downpour. Unlike the Americans, who could not endure hardship, the volunteer army soldiers had long since adapted to marching and fighting in the rain. Therefore, this downpour was the perfect opportunity for them to seize the heights of Jiufeng Peak. So, at 3 o'clock that morning, Shen Shuden, fully prepared, led his men from a hidden ravine, through dense forests, and after nearly 3 hours of arduous trekking through the mud, they finally reached Jiufeng Peak in the rain and darkness. As Shen Shuden had predicted, Jiufeng Peak was deserted. Not even the sentries were to be seen. In this way, the troops seized the initiative without firing a single shot, laying a solid foundation for victory in the subsequent battle. Shen Shuden, who had reached Jiufeng Peak first, wasted no time, immediately ordering his men to reinforce their fortifications and make strategic deployments. He anticipated a massive enemy offensive at daybreak. Shen Shuden speculated that upon discovering Jiufeng Peak's capture, the Americans, with their air superiority, would launch a heavy artillery bombardment of the summit, weakening our forces. Based on this prediction, Shen Shuden had his men ambush on the mountainside, awaiting the end of the American artillery barrage. Soon, the Americans began a fierce artillery bombardment of the Jiufeng positions, filling the air with smoke and sparks. After the artillery barrage ended, Shen Shuden immediately led his men back to the plateau. He anticipated a massive American counterattack, attempting to recapture the position in one fell swoop. Even before daybreak, taking advantage of the low visibility in the early hours, the enemy launched an impatient attack, launching a fierce assault with 2 battalions. But all this was within Shen Shuden's expectations. He suspected the enemy would initially attempt a massive blitzkrieg attack. To this end, he had already arranged a forward outpost, secured by the majority of the platoon's firepower, and manned by 3 elite soldiers, preventing the enemy from advancing a single step and resolutely blocking the U.S. forces within it. Under the heavy fire of grenades and ammunition from the rear heights, the enemy remained unable to breach this outpost. Whenever casualties arose at the outpost, they were immediately reinforced by firepower, ensuring the outpost always maintained a constant force of 3 men. Furthermore, to confuse the enemy and obscure their precise strength, Shin Shu-jin proposed dispersing his limited forces, launching attacks from different angles. This would prevent the enemy from achieving a breakthrough and accurately assess their strength. While dispersing his forces, Shin Shu-jin ensured that his firepower remained concentrated, ensuring no enemy was spared, offering no opportunity for exploitation, and ensuring that no area of artillery fire could be relaxed. In this way, the soldiers of the 3rd platoon fought 10 enemies at a time, effectively and efficiently annihilated a large number of enemy troops, and held their positions for 2 days and 1 night.